So this is the story of how I wore this armor to the Open Sauce 2024. To give context, this armor is 22 gauge steel with an EVA foam backing, is articulated at the knee joints, and has a water cooling system in the backpack to keep your body cool. Also, I'm just a dude from a small town in Iowa, so let's go. So first thing I did, I took this picture from my daughter that she drew for me for Father's Day, and I packed all of my armor into my suitcase. To keep the TSA from stealing my armor, I did put in this note so that they'd know that it was cosplay armor. And then I go to the airport. I look kind of sad. Here's a better picture of me at the second airport that I went to. I'm smiling in this one at least. Then I landed in San Francisco, and I got an Uber ride to my hotel. And it was from a really nice man from Afghanistan, and we had a great conversation. He was really cool, and he told me the story of how he came here, so that was really interesting. Then I was at my hotel. I was on the 16th floor, and I could see part of the city. It looked really cool, but I had to go on a walk. So I walked, and I walked, and I saw all sorts of really interesting stuff, all these really cool buildings and architecture. It looks really neat. I saw this Waymo self-driving car. That's pretty awesome. And then I opened up into this area where there was a bunch of boats that are really cool, and I could see Alcatraz in the distance. And there it is, that's Alcatraz, but the fog was starting to roll in and it was starting to get dark. Through the fog, I could see the Golden Gate Bridge off in the distance, but I needed a better picture. I had to head back because it was getting dark, but I snapped this picture of Ghirardelli, and then it was off to get ready for the next day. Alright, finally made it through. Got my badge. I met some pretty awesome people online and I had great conversations, but we did have to wait about 2 hours before we could get into the facility. But when we did, holy cow, it was awesome. Got to see this cool thing, got to see Tombstone, one of my favorite BattleBots of all time, and Bite Force, my other favorite BattleBot of all time. These ones are awesome. I met a lot of really awesome creators, but I acted like a bumbling fool because of my social anxiety. But I did still get a ton of really great advice. Got to take a picture of this Furby thing. It was crazy. There was this guy. He was horse-drawn carriage, robotic, walking around. I did meet this awesome young man whose project allowed you to learn about sensors by mixing drinks. And him and I hit it off, and the reason you're seeing a sad face is because I can't remember his name and I didn't take any pictures. And I feel like a jerk, but he let me put my equipment there the next day. But since I didn't know if I could even make it through security, I had to ask William if I could even have my armor there and be okay. But he agreed, and I was able to bring it the next day. So after that, it was an Uber ride home and then a journey to go find some ramen. I ended up taking some wrong turns and saw this cool trolley, but I ended up finding the ramen place and I ate it. I saw another Waymo self-driving car, and then it was back to the hotel to get some rest before the next day. I had to do a little bit of fixing because of the travel, but the next day, bam, it was on, and boy was it cool. I got to see this awesome robot, holy crap. I had a great conversation with the guy who made this CNC machine. This machine took my picture and printed out on receipt paper. There it is, me on a receipt paper. Crunch Labs had a really cool display with all sorts of gadgets, and you can get the gadgets by joining their club. There's this guy with a really awesome jet-powered scooter. Then there's this thing that automatically follows a target. Levitating balls with sound. I had a really awesome conversation with this guy about his armor. Man, what skill he has in making his artwork. But I did get upstaged by Hacksmith at this point. If Hacksmith wants to see what you've built, you better show him. There's one motor turning a fidget spinner and the magnets pull the rest. There's a giant bear trap. Here's some projects from some other YouTube videos. A levitating water optical illusion. Persistence of vision is amazing. Some more projects from some badass YouTube videos. This telegraph was made entirely from scratch with just basic materials, even the wire. Here's a few projects from a YouTube channel I really like. Another optical illusion. In person, this one's pretty hypnotizing. Here's a game of Wizard's Chess that you can play by yourself. This is another view of these projects. Saw a few more battle bots. And this guy makes boom boxes. They're really neat. I wish I had the picture of the insides. Tesla coils are awesome, and these can play music. Here's an electric bike this guy made. And this robot was interesting. A grabby arm on there. More battle bots, of course. Had to get this Furby thing again. This robot's crazy. I got an up close and personal of the carriage, the robot horses. This project is somebody's rendition of what a thumper is from Dune. Remember the robot from the beginning? Well, I met some of the people that made him. This guy was really fun to talk to. What a great person. Here's an image of Mark Rober from a really long distance away. His speech was great. There's a lot of makers that I really would have loved to meet while I was here, and I just didn't get to, like Mark Rober, and I would have loved to meet Adam Savage or gotten to talk to Hacksmith, but I did in fact meet StyroPyro, and although I don't have any pictures of it, I did get him to autograph my badge, which is pretty sweet. I forgot to mention that the badge is actually a cool LED circuit board. So it was the end of the day and I headed back to the hotel. I was pretty tired after wearing a 50-pound suit of armor for 8 hours. So I headed to bed, and then the next day, it was time for an adventure. So I went on a walk. I still needed that picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. So I walked and I walked. By a cool scaffolding. Yeah, I teach scaffolding classes, so I inspected it. It was pretty cool. And I just kept walking, and eventually I found this marina with a bunch of boats in the bay, and lots of sailboats everywhere. And then as I continued to walk, there was these parks, and there were people flying kites, and I saw this Cybertruck just out in the wild. And then I saw these neat walking paths with bridges, and I walked past these flowers here. And I saw some neat sights, and I headed up to the top of this little area where you could look down and you could see across the bay. And there, what to my wondering eyes? But the Golden Gate Bridge. I finally got my picture. It was about that time I realized I needed to head back. I had to check out of the hotel in an hour, and I had an hour walk. So I ended up walking back, running a little bit to try and make it, and saw some cool stuff. There were these little tiny cars. There's some more sailboats. I really like sailboats. They're neat. And I saw another Waymo self-driving car. But I made it back just in time, and I had to get all my things repacked into my bag. Got out in another Uber drive back to the airport. And I flew back home. And that's the story of how I wore my armor to the Open Sauce 2024 and had an awesome adventure in San Francisco. And I think I'm going to leave you guys off with the Tesla coils playing some music.